Hi there, boys and girls, and welcome back to Conquering Math, where it all adds up. Today we'll be learning how to graph ratios. Let's dive on in. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to plot ratio values in the coordinate plane and use these plots to solve real-world problems. The Common Core State Standard today is 6RPA3A. Example number 1. Robert deposits $10 into his bank account each week. Complete the table and graph the ordered pairs. In this case, we'll use time for the x value and savings for the y value. So we set up our table with time in weeks on the left and savings in dollars on the right. He saves $10 after 1 week, $20 after 2 weeks, $30 after 3 weeks, and $40 after 4 weeks. Now we need to set up our graph. Make sure to include a title on top, in this case Robert's Savings, and on the bottom we have the time in weeks on the x-axis, and on the left side we have the savings in dollars on the y-axis. Now we can plot our points. Notice that I did fill in the point 0, 0 because if no time has passed, Robert hasn't deposited any money into his bank account. After 1 week, Robert has deposited $10. So we go to 1 on the x-axis, 10 on the y-axis, and we plot the point where they intersect. The next point is 2 weeks and $20. So we go to 2 on the x-axis, 20 on the y-axis, and we plot the point where they intersect. We do the same thing for the next point, 3 weeks, $30. And finally, 4 weeks and $40. Now we can draw a line. Make sure to use your ruler to connect the dots in a straight line. You've now graphed the ratio for Robert depositing the money into his bank account each week. Example number 2. Rachel measured the rainfall during a recent storm. Rachel found that the rain fell at an average rate of 0.25 inches per hour. Complete the table and graph the ordered pairs. We will once again use time on the x-axis, and this time we'll use rainfall on the y-axis. So we set up our table, and notice that this time I increased the hours by 2 each time rather than 1. So after 2 hours, we have a ½ inch of rainfall, 4 hours, 1 inch, 6 hours, 1½ inches, and 8 hours with 2 inches of rainfall. Now we set up our table. We have Rachel's measurements as our title. We have time in hours on the x-axis and rainfall in inches on the y-axis. And notice the scale on the x-axis goes up by 2 each time rather than 1. Now we're ready to plot our points. We once again start at 0, 0 because if no time has passed, no rain has fallen. After 2 hours, we will have a ½ inch of rain. Notice that we plotted the point at the intersection of 2 for hours and 0.54 inches. The next point is 4 hours and 1 inch, so we'll plot the intersection of 4 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. Now our next point is 6 hours with 1.5 inches, so we'll plot that intersection. And then we have 8 hours with 2 inches. The last thing that we need to do is to plot the line through the points. Remember to use your ruler. Good job. Now you've graphed Rachel's measurements for the rainfall during this storm. Example number 3. Steven and Ava are creating saltwater solutions for a science experiment. Steven adds 3 teaspoons of salt to 4 cups of water. Ava adds 2 teaspoons of salt to 3 cups of water. Complete the table and graph the ordered pairs with water on the x-axis and salt on the y-axis. Which solution is saltier? So we'll set up a table for each of them, and notice that Steven has 4 cups of water to 3 teaspoons of salt, and Ava has 3 cups of water to 2 teaspoons of salt. We'll fill in the rest of the table, and then we'll set up our graph. I titled it Saltwater Mixtures, with water in cups on the x-axis and salt in teaspoons on the y-axis. Next, we'll use the same method that we've used in the previous 2 examples to graph each of the lines. If we take a look at the lines, we notice that Steven's graph rises more sharply than Ava's. This means that Steven's graph has more salt in it for each cup of water. So this tells us that Steven's graph is steeper, so his mixture is saltier. Today you learned to plot ratio values in the coordinate plane and use these plots to solve real-world problems. The Common Core State Standard today was 6 RPA 3A. Now that you are familiar with these techniques, complete the independent practice problems in your guided notes packet. Then watch the independent practice solutions video to check your work. Thanks for watching this episode of Conquering Math, where it all adds up. I'll see you next time.